there, how are you doing? My name is Angel, and I like all things that are mysterious, right? And I found an article on Ranker, and I know I'm on like the fence with it and everything, but sometimes they have really good articles on there. It just sucks that the website always crashes on me. But anyways, I found one on Ranker, and it's titled Morticians Reveal the Strangest and Most Mysterious Cases They've Ever Worked on. Caught my attention right away. So anyways, we're going to skip their description. We're going to get right into the meat and potatoes. First story, that nursing home ought to be shut down. From Redditor, u/pastel pastries. Huh. That name makes me hungry. Anyways, there was this guy on the autopsy table with his behind rotted off to the bone. Turns out he was a paraplegic in a nursing home. The nurses just neglected cleaning his behind for so long that it rotted off and he couldn't feel it. It wasn't discovered until he was on the table. Somebody seen that because somebody had to move him from the bed to something else before he got to the table. I'm just saying. And I thought they're supposed to be checking for bed sores. Because when I was a caregiver, the individuals or people that were bedbound, we had to check them all the time for like signs of bed sores and stuff. Because it can become that. Okay. Along with the fact that they weren't cleaning it on top of that. Like, you're supposed to rotate them so they don't get bed sores. Anyways, I know too much about being a caregiver. Anyways, the next story. Her cause of death was hardly magical even though a gargoyle was involved. From Redditor u/back to Bach. Hold on, I gotta screenshot the first one. Hold on, I gotta screenshot. Ugh. I haven't been screenshotting any. Oops. I haven't screenshotted anything. Aww. Squeaky! Squeaky! Oh, I didn't even see if it did it or not. I don't know why he's acting weird. Well, anyways. Squeaky! Oh, he knows his name. He looked right at me. Squeaky! Pugsley! Pugsley! Oh, he's walking so much better again. Anyways. The undertaker had to prepare a woman for viewing at a wake who had been killed by a gargoyle falling from the tower of an old church and making a direct hit. Wait, and they wanted to view her after that? Who told her that was okay? Or just the person. Who told that family that would be okay? They lying. Apparently, it did extensive damage. No shit, Sherlock. The kind that took him several days of reconstructive preparatory work. I'd be like, no, it's not possible. I'm so sorry. You do not want to see. You want to remember them the way you remember them the last time you seen them. You don't want to remember them like this. 1000%, that's what I would have told them. I can't imagine. She probably didn't even look the same at all. Anyways. This case proves that vises should only be used by professionals that are properly attired. From Redditor /Ed98208. The weirdest and most puzzling case was a man in his late 60s who died of a pulmonary embolism as a result of crushing his own penis in a vise. I've tried to think of ways it could have happened accidentally, naked woodworking, or what his thought process could possibly have been. Same. I is that like a new fetish? I don't know. But anyways, smoking may have worse results than you ever imagined. From Redditor /Too Much Pretzels. Your name makes me hungry too. I love pretzels. We once had a lady that came in looking like she had died in a war. Burn marks, lacerations, what I imagine it looks like if you get hit by a grenade or a mine. Wow. But anyways, apparently she had been discharged from the hospital earlier that day for a hip replacement. They had given her a bottle of oxygen and strict orders to not smoke. Well, old Miss Joe Camel sits right down on her sofa on her porch at home, plops the oxygen tank down next to her, and with the oxygen tube still in her nose, lights up her very last cigarette. I mean, come on. Come on. I just can't. I can't. I'm sure there's several stories like that, though. Anyways, cake frosting can be dangerous, too. From Redditor /The Modern Mortician. I love it. A lady ate herself to death on 5 containers of Duncan Hines frosting. Neighbors saw her for 2 days sitting in her favorite chair. Then finally someone checked on her. She was dead, with a container of frosting in her lap and 4 empties on the floor around her chair. Her chin had frosting on it too. I can't. Her mother revealed she had gastric bypass 5 months prior. That surgery doesn't do everything. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell them. Anyways, this was certainly not a relaxing soak. From Redditor /Ephialtis, Ephialtis. Cannot pronounce that. Anyways, one such instance, a large apartment complex started smelling something terrible, coming from a particular room. The landlord found the old lady that lived there dead in the bathtub. Apparently, she had been getting in the tub to take a bath and had a heart attack. The water was running, already hot, and she accidentally knocked loose the drain with her foot. So what happened for the next 2 weeks is she lay there marinating in hot water. Now you'd think the water would eventually cool, right? Nope. They had those industrial hot water heaters since it was shared by the apartment complex, and it easily kept up with the hot water demand. So she had been sitting in this hot water for a couple of weeks, basically cooking. When they went to try and move the body, it was similar to picking up a marinated chicken. The meat fell right off the bone. I couldn't do it. I would throw up everywhere. I'd pick them up. Bleh, it'd just be everywhere. It'd be a whole mess. I can't. That is insane, though. Anyways. In severe cases, masturbation may have horrible repercussions. From Redditor /Princess Olympia. I love it. Once there was a dead man who was a frequent masturbator. I actually was a caregiver for somebody like that. But anyways, he yanked it with such force for so long that he permanently cut off the blood supply to his penis. That did not happen to the person I was a caregiver for, but he was a chronic masturbator. But anyways, and he didn't care. It became horribly infected and gangrene set it. The infection went to his bloodstream and it killed him. Yes. That's what happens when an infection gets into your bloodstream. It's fatal. But anyways, the next story. That holiday season was presumably very bleak. From Redditor u/Bencio del Pollo. I sort of close. I'm pretty confident I'm sort of close there. But anyways, my dad did autopsies for a while. He said the worst was a little girl who was charred in the fetal position. Supposedly, when her house caught fire, she crawled under the Christmas tree, which then turned into a furnace. That's a sad story, too. There's a lot of sad stories here. I have a new message. It's probably a message from my doctor I've been waiting for. I don't know where the other half of the story is. But anyways, this case had a mind-warping turn of events. There it is. From Redditor u/Ulick. Oh, it freaking crashed. I was trying to hurry. I was like, we're doing good. It hasn't crashed yet. And I have a new message from my doctor. Yep, and look at that. It jumped me all the way to the top again. Wow. This is what hold on. Okay. From Redditor u/Ulick Beluv. Oops. This case had a mind-warping turn of events. I think we already went over that, but I've had so many issues. I already went over the Redditor's name, too. There was a motorcycle accident with the rider having no helmet. He lost his head in the crash. Authorities wandered the ditches to find the head at the butt crack of dawn. They couldn't find it, but were still walking and looking, and seeing things in that odd dusk, thinking they might trip over a detached head in the ditch. Other responders eventually figure it out. The head was pushed down into the body. I didn't know that was a thing that could happen. So, I did not know that was a thing that could happen. Holy smokes. Like, what would they classify that as? An internal decapitation? Because if the head gets pushed down... Okay, anyways, electrocution was the cause of death, but no electricity was nearby. From Redditor u/Ars Hale. Azrael. I believe I'm wrong, but we're going to keep going. Anyways, I am both paramedic and mortician. That is awesome. So I've seen some real doozies. One of the most bizarre was the fellow who, upon autopsy, had his cause of death declared as electrocution, despite the fact that the abandoned farmhouse he was in hadn't had electricity in decades. Lividity and decomposition both supported the conclusion that he died where he was found. So it wasn't a body dump, but there was no possible way for him to have been electrocuted there. He was inside the wooden building with no damage to the roof. He was in the middle of the room, too, so it's unlikely that he was touching anything potentially conductive that could have passed the current of a lightning strike through his body. Just plain weird. It's not, though. That's not weird to me because I've heard of stories of spontaneous combustion, right? So maybe that was like a failed spontaneous combustion thing, because I don't think, it's been a while since I've talked about it or read anything about it, but at the last time I've heard anybody talk about spontaneous combustion, they were hypothesizing that it was electricity buildup. So anyways, let me just screenshot this story. Is that the last story? It might be the last story. Oh, nope, it's not. Next story. In this case, the pillow was more dangerous than the heroin. Oh, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name. From Redditor /Ilrocknotneb. I know I didn't say it right. It isn't particularly strange, but one that stuck with me was a man who was a heroin addict. Coroner ruled that it wasn't actually the heroin that killed him, but his pillow. The man injected so much he lost control of his body and fell face down onto his bed. He was completely paralyzed and eventually suffocated. If I hadn't already decided, hearing the details and seeing the faces of his family made me swear to never go near that shit. Facts. Facts. But it's still a sad case of addiction, whether it was an OD or not. It was still a result of an addiction. Anyways, next story. A sapling tree was responsible for the surprising death. From Redditor /the crispiest of bacon. I love that name. I love crispy bacon. It's my favorite. But anyways, my brother told me about this case where a guy got into a car wreck and ended up being ejected out the windshield. I actually went to high school with a guy while we were in high school. He was in front of the high school, and I don't remember exactly what happened. I want to say like a tie rod broke or something on the front of his car. But anyways, he went through the windshield, and he was a like 6 foot something, very stocky guy. And they weren't sure if he was going to make it or not. They had to do a lot of surgeries. He made it. I'm actually still friends with him to this day. But it's just crazy because, we were like, 16? It was insane. But anyways, when the police and first responders showed up, he was sitting outside the car in shock, but seemed absolutely fine other than some scratches and a broken arm. A miracle, really. But as soon as the EMT lifted him up to give him a more thorough examination, the guy immediately collapsed and stopped breathing. They rushed him to the hospital where he died, but they couldn't pinpoint what caused his sudden death. My brother performed the autopsy and discovered that the guy, when he was launched from the car and had been penetrated via rectum by a small sapling. When the guy was sitting down, he was still in shock and probably didn't notice, but when the EMT stood him up, the sapling most likely perforated his bowel and destroyed his internal organs. That is insane. Hold on. Let me screenshot it. I have heard of somebody having a plant growing in their lung. That's a pretty popular story. I wonder how it got in his rectum. But anyways, was it from when he got ejected and he landed on it and it got like ripped off? I don't know. I always think too much about stuff. But anyways, sounds like a brain teaser. From Redditor u/_Ryan_. This guy commits suicide by shooting himself in the back of the head 2 times and then hanging himself. Not even sure how it's possible, but who am I to argue with the police? I mean, that's not usually a motion that somebody that's going to commit suicide is going to do, though. So anyways, I don't know. I would argue with the police. I'm like, show me. If you can reenact that, then we can go with your story. But if you are not able to reenact that, I'm also not going to revive you when you potentially pass out from hanging yourself and then trying to shoot yourself in the back of the head. Okay? Anyways, I would argue with the police. Go ahead and demonstrate that, because I want to see them demonstrate that. Go ahead, demonstrate how that's suicide. Anyways, would have never guessed I would have heard a story like that today. But anyways, not all hangings are vertical. From Redditor u/Hermarine. Not a mortician or EMT, cop, fire, etc. Just a dad who chaperoned his 15-year-old kid for their class tour of the local county sheriff's department forensics department. Kids were morbidly curious at why this car was front-end damaged. Kids were morbidly curious at why this car with front-end damage and no back windshield was in the warehouse. Tech offhandedly said a guy committed suicide by kicking out the back window, tied a long rope to a tree, ran the rope through the empty window, tied it around his neck, then floored it across this field, decapitating himself when the rope snapped taut. Holy smokes. I mean, that's very creative, I'd have to say. But anyways, brings me back to like the old cartoons I watched when I was a kid and stuff back in the 80s. A macabre way to turn a profit. From Redditor u/constant error. Not a mortician, had a very bizarre case of death in my apartment building. A lot of spelling errors. On the 2nd floor, there lived a completely crazy old hag. She would stand on the balcony naked from the waist down, throw shit at people below, loudly swear at anybody she met. She actually sounds like a lady that I had ran into one time when I was like 16. She called me and my friend scum. I looked at her and I was like, scum doesn't dress this nice. But anyways, we were actually on our way to the club. I was like, scum doesn't dress this nice, and I walked away from her. You're scum. Scum doesn't dress this nice, I'm sorry. Still gonna say that. I actually clean up really nice. And of course, crashed. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Had a very bizarre case of death in my apartment building. On the 2nd floor, there lived a completely crazy old hag. She would stand on the balcony naked from the waist down, throw shit at people below, loudly swear at anybody she met. We already read that. but it crashed, remember? Almost killed me with a glass jar to the head, missed me by the inches when I was walking out of the building. And she somehow had gotten herself a 70-year-old lover who lived with her. God knows why. Anyhow, there was a sudden lull in her appearances, and after a while her neighbors noticed an unbearable stench coming out of her flat. Police got involved. They broke down the door, and inside was a very horrifying scene. There on the bed was she and her lover. She was dead for 2 weeks. Her lover was dead for at least 3 months. Apparently, she kept his death secret to receive his retirement benefits using his documents and slept with his corpse in the same bed. And the flat itself, it was just a garbage dump with meter-high piles of rags, refuse, and rubbish lying around. And in the center of the room, there stood a big 50-kilogram at least open tub of dairy butter. I'm not understanding the butter, but anyways, that was the last story. She had been dead for at least 2 weeks, and her lover had been dead for at least 3 months, and she had been sleeping with it in the same bed. I mean, did she keep the apartment cold? Because a room temperature decomposing body is going to start to stink really bad very quickly unless you cool it. Anyways, oh God. I don't know which one was the worst story. Which one do you think was the worst story? I just started thinking about that one that, oh my God, I don't know. I don't actually know. I take that back. I want to say it was the one where the head got pushed down into the body. Because honest to God, I didn't know that was a thing. But anyways, as I ponder on that again, it's like, yeah, I think that was the worst one of these incredibly horrible autopsy findings. But anyways, on that note, if you liked this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you would like to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.